one of the things that excites me so much about dealing with the CHIPS Act. And look, we've been partners for a while in all these efforts, and there's no reason why that should slow up now. And I also want to thank AB.
Okay. Now for the boring part of the news.
It's been one of the most successful weeks of the president's tenure in the White House so far. I'm wondering if it's just a coincidence that it's happened while he has largely been isolating in the White House. The CHIPS bill has passed, a historic agreement with Mr. Schumer.
What are you trying to say here?
I'm just wondering if the White House finds it coincidence. The president had a successful 2020 campaign where he was mostly working from his home. Work from home has seemed to be successful for the president.
Tyler, my goodness, jeez. Oh my gosh, the cynicism. Look, the president is going to continue to work for the American people regardless. It doesn't matter where he is. I hear what you're saying, but we've had successes over the last 18 months. It's not just been this week, right?
This spurt has been a quite successful week for the president by all accounts.
Yeah, but it's not the first time. We had the American Rescue Plan. We had the bipartisan infrastructure deal. We've had other successes in this White House. And so, of the American people, and he's still been working.
I know, and I'm not
he's still been working.
It's just at a time when, for the first time, when he has been forced by his medical diagnosis to stay in the residence, there's been a string of successes. I'm getting the sense that you're saying it's just a coincidence that the timing is aligned, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Tyler, my goodness.
I just think it's an interesting phenomenon that we've seen across a range of his priorities. They've all kind of come together.
I think we should just be really thrilled.
On the Inflation Reduction Act, is the primary aim of this legislation to reduce inflation or to fight climate change and reform the prescription drug pricing system?
I think all of it. Forget the historic investment to climate change, right? To fight the climate crisis, which is something that the president has been doing from day one. He's taken bold actions.
It is called the Inflation Reduction Act, and it seems that the most favorable interpretation from economists, including those that the White House has cited, is that this legislation will help bring down inflation in the long term, perhaps later this decade. But there's near universal agreement that this is going to do very little to actually bring down inflation in the near term, which seems to be when Americans would be looking for an Inflation Reduction Act to actually address inflation.
That is something that we disagree with, right? We think that this is going to have some effect for American families. There's going to be rebates for families so that they're able, as it relates to energy cost, it's going to matter. And, you think about congressional Republicans and their plan, it's the complete opposite. They are not interested in lowering costs. If they were, this is it. This is the bill that exists in the House right now, in Congress, I should say, in the Senate at the moment, that could do that. And they don't want to jump on board to help us lower costs for families.
So do you have any evidence that this is going to lower inflation in the short term?
Look, I just listed out 126 top economists who said that it's going to do that. I have
They didn't say in the short term, they just said general.
Well, I'm just saying that it is a step forward. We do believe that if you lower costs for Americans, that matters. That is incredibly important because when you think
Inflation Reduction Act, so there's a corporate tax increase to a minimum of 15%. How confident is the president that the companies will not pass that cost on to people in the form of higher prices?
Look, the reason why we talk about we think the global minimum tax of 15 is, or the corporate minimum tax of 15 is so important, is because you have 55 companies, corporate companies right now, who pay absolutely nothing, who pay $0, and by doing this, we are fixing the tax loophole. I cannot speak to your question that you're asking me. I cannot speak to that. What I can speak is to this legislation and why it's so important and why we need to get it done. And there should be bipartisan support for this legislation. There should be. There's nothing here that we should be against. We should be supporting this legislation.
The Joint Committee on Taxation looked at this proposal. It's not a complete analysis in the sense that it does say it would raise taxes on, Joe Biden has drawn the line at $400,000 a year. The committee does say it would raise taxes on people below that line.
One of the things that voters are always going to ask us, because they are right to ask us, you know what they're going to ask us? Why should I vote? They're going to say, what did I get for voting before? Well, let's listen to the voices of the children, because one of the things that folks got is they said when they voted, I think sometimes the voting is you just putting in your order. This is what you want. So when people stood in those lines for hours, when they sat at their kitchen table for hours figuring out how they were going to fill out their ballot to vote by mail, when they drove by those drop boxes with their kids in the back seat, patiently waiting to drop off that ballot, they were putting in an order.